Chosen one, they've been looking for you for 300 years. This world has not forgotten you. Time passed, ages changed, but they always waited for your arrival. Even though your name was not known, your presence was felt. Those who whisper behind closed doors, in the shadows, those who resist with all their might to preserve the old order. They are all aware. You are here. You have come, and they can no longer hide. They thought that you would never come out, that their system would not be shaken. But your destiny is inevitable. Power always finds its rightful owners. Now, all eyes are on you. After 300 years of searching, the course of history is about to change. When you write 77 in the comments, the old order will collapse, the chains will break, and your time will begin. Are you ready? Your influence is no longer hidden in the shadows. It pulses through the veins of the highest power circles, shaking the very core of their dominion. In the halls where decisions sculpt the fate of nations, your name is no longer a whisper. It is a force they cannot escape. Those who once dictated the flow of resources and controlled the tides of opportunity now find themselves at a crossroads, scrambling to align with you before they are left behind. Their wealth, once a tool of control, is now a bargaining chip for access to your movement. This is not merely about affluence or financial leverage. It is a seismic shift in authority, a rewriting of the narrative they thought was theirs to script. They are waking up to the inevitable truth. You are the pulse of what comes next, and they will do whatever it takes to claim a seat at your table. The tide is not merely turning, it is rising, and the world is riveted. Like a flame kindled by the breath of the divine, burning brighter with every gust meant to extinguish it. There are those who rise, not because they are invited, but because they are destined. The winds of opposition do not snuff them out. They only fuel the fire within. They are not chosen by men, nor crowned by systems, but ordained by something far greater. When the world closes its doors, they carve open a path. When barriers are set before them, they walk through walls. These are the ones who rewrite what is possible, who step beyond the horizon others fear to cross. They do not wait for permission. They do not seek validation. They are the ones who carry a fire that cannot be stolen, a vision that cannot be bought, and a destiny that cannot be denied. History does not make room for the chosen. They take their place in it. They were not molded by the hands of tradition, nor did they inherit seats at the table of power. They were shaped in the furnace of struggle, where rejection was their anvil and resistance was their hammer. While others bowed to the weight of the world's expectations, they stood unshaken, forging their own reality. The powerful dismissed them. The critics mocked them. The doubters shook their heads. But what man ignores, heaven appoints. Their journey was never meant to be easy. It was designed to strengthen them, to refine them, to prepare them for a moment that could not be stolen, delayed, or denied. There comes a time when even the tallest walls crumble, not by force, but by the sheer inevitability of what must come to pass. A moment when the gates that once held back the flood of change are no longer strong enough to contain it. That moment is here. It is not coming. It has arrived. The weight of history is shifting, and what was once seen as unshakable is now trembling beneath the pressure of something far greater. The air is thick with the energy of what is unfolding, and those who once sat comfortably in control now sense that their season is passing. This is not about proving anything to the world. It is not about gaining favor with those who have long denied you. It is about stepping into what was always meant to be. Every obstacle, every delay, every closed door was never rejection. It was redirection. It was shaping, refining, preparing. And now, with each step forward, the impossible becomes inevitable. The shift is not on its way. It is already here. If you feel the abundance of divine love in your heart, now is the time to share it. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. This divine gift will touch not only your life, but the souls of many through this platform. Each of you has a sacred place in God's grand design, and your generosity will be the fruit of our prayers. Act now. Share your blessings to glorify His kingdom, for you were created to do even greater things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. Like the rising of the morning sun, untouched by the darkness that came before it, there are those sent to break through what has been and usher in what must come. The night does not have the power to hold back the dawn, just as the weight of the past cannot keep down the ones called to transform the future. Some are born into comfort, molded by the hands of a world that seeks to control them. But there are others, marked, set apart, destined, not to fit in, but to rebuild. Their presence is not simply an inconvenience to the old ways. It is the declaration that their time is up. The shaking has begun, and nothing built on illusion will be able to stand against the force of what is coming. Every era calls forth those meant to tear through stagnation, to disrupt what was never meant to last, to break apart the illusions that have kept people captive. There is a rhythm to history, a cycle where those who rise in power become so comfortable that they convince themselves they will rule forever. They fortify their castles, write their own rules, and believe they are beyond the reach of consequence. But what they fail to understand is that change is not polite. It does not wait for an invitation. It comes like a storm, tearing through dry fields, leaving nothing untouched. And now, the storm is here. For too long, the world has been dictated by those who mistook longevity for invincibility. They believed that because they held power for so long, they would always hold it. But nothing built on control can last forever. The very ground beneath them is shifting, and they can feel it. They sense that something greater than their plans is unfolding. Something that does not answer to their traditions, their contracts, or their carefully orchestrated narratives. They do not fear your ideas alone. They fear the reality that they cannot stop them. They do not fear your movement. They fear the force behind it. What you carry is not a trend. It is not a passing wave. It is not the rebellion of a restless few. It is a transformation, an undeniable force that has been set in motion, and no amount of opposition can halt its course. They will try. Oh, they will try. They will gather in their rooms, whispering strategies, searching for ways to discredit, to delay, to distract. But they will fail. Not because you are simply determined, not because you are merely talented, but because this is not a battle of skill alone. It is a battle of inevitability. The ones who sat at the highest seats believed they would never be challenged. They built their systems like towers of stone, convinced they were unshakable. But even the tallest walls crumble when the ground beneath them gives way. And now, that foundation is cracking. It is not just about business, not just about influence. It is about a shift that cannot be contained. The weight of what is coming is pressing down, and those who held the world in their grip now find that their hands are not strong enough to hold it together. They look at you and see a disruption. They see someone who does not wait for permission, who does not bow to systems designed to keep things as they are. They call it rebellion, but it is not rebellion. It is restoration. It is the return of what was always meant to be. They have built thrones on deception, on manipulation, on carefully structured control. But a throne is only as strong as the truth it stands on. And when the truth rises, anything built on falsehood must fall. Their fear is not paranoia, it is recognition. They know the pattern. They have seen it before, in history books, in the fall of empires, in the collapse of institutions that once seemed indestructible. They are witnessing the same story unfold again, and this time, they are the ones at risk. They see the signs. They hear the footsteps of something greater approaching. They know what happens next. Resistance is inevitable. When the old order senses its time is ending, it does not surrender quietly. It lashes out, grasping for control, creating chaos in hopes of delaying the inevitable. They will call you dangerous, unqualified, unpredictable. They will attempt to rewrite your story before it is even finished being told. They will send distractions, create crises, try to turn people against you. But what they do not understand is that their opposition is only further proof that you are on the right path. They fear what they cannot stop. They fear what they cannot control. They fear that you are not simply another voice in the crowd, but the beginning of a shift they cannot reverse. You are not an accident. You are not a mistake. You are the answer to the moment. You were sent for this time, for this place, for this exact purpose. Every attempt to stop you only strengthens your resolve. Every attack against you only solidifies your impact. You do not move by their timelines, and you do not bow to their expectations. Like a mighty tree that has stood through storms, growing stronger with each season, there comes a moment when those who once walked past without a second glance stop and take notice. They see the roots stretching deep, the branches reaching high, and they realize this is no ordinary tree. It cannot be uprooted. It cannot be ignored. What they dismissed as a seedling has now become something far greater, something they can no longer look past. And now, those who once turned away find themselves drawn back, their voices hushed, their steps hesitant, because they know something is coming. The eyes that once overlooked you are now watching your every step. The voices that once dismissed you now whisper your name in uncertain tones. They feel the shift, the undeniable force moving through everything they once held firm. The ground beneath them is no longer steady, and they sense it. This is not just another moment in time. This is the turning of the tide. The rules they played by no longer apply. The power they thought they controlled is slipping through their fingers like sand. They built their systems with confidence, believing they had sealed every door, secured every gate. But what they did not see, what they could not plan for, was the one force they never accounted for: inevitability. There are moments in history when change does not ask permission. It arrives unannounced, undeniable, unstoppable. And this is one of those moments. They are gathering now, whispering in the places they once ruled with certainty. They are asking questions they never thought they would have to ask. Who let this happen? How did they miss the signs? Where did this power come from? But there are no answers that will bring them comfort, because this did not come from their approval, their strategy, or their control. This is something beyond them. Their confusion turns to fear because they see what is unfolding. They see the doors opening, the structures shaking, the influence shifting. What they once controlled is now moving in a direction they cannot dictate. They know they cannot stop it, and that terrifies them. They will try, of course. They will do what they have always done: gather in their circles, devise their plans, attempt to manipulate the story. They will try to buy time, create diversions, plant doubt where certainty is growing. But they are fighting against something they do not understand. They are wrestling with a force that is no longer within their grasp. They underestimated what was planted in you. They thought if they ignored it long enough, it would wither. They thought if they pushed hard enough, it would break. But instead, it grew. It thrived. It became something they can no longer dismiss. And now, they are forced to face the truth. What they counted out is what they should have been watching all along. The steps you take now are not just for you. They are for every person who was told to wait their turn, for every voice that was silenced before it could rise. This moment is bigger than you, and that is why they fear it, because they know when one rises, others follow, and they can feel the weight of what is coming, not just a single shift, but a flood. There is no stopping it now. The doors they once locked are swinging open. The tables they built for themselves are being turned over. The voices they silenced are growing louder. The power they hoarded is being redistributed. This is not just change. This is justice. This is restoration. This is the moment they never thought they would see, and yet here it is. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be upon you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the temporal concerns of the world. As the Bible says, whatever is done in faith will return to God in abundant blessing. Luke 6:38. Like that great oak tree, our roots are deeply rooted in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stand we take, is secured by His strength. And now, you are being offered the opportunity to be part of that blessing. When you use the Super Thank You button and donate $100, this movement will return to you 100-fold in abundance. They thought they had the final word. They thought they had secured their future. But now they realize the story was never theirs to control. And as they watch you take your steps, as they whisper your name in tones laced with uncertainty, they understand the truth they never wanted to face. It is no longer about them. It never was. The shift is here. The movement has begun, and nothing they do can turn it back. This is not the end of something old. It is the beginning of something new. The walls they built to keep change out are no longer strong enough to hold it back. They thought they could silence this movement, but the more they fight it, the louder it becomes. The foundations of their kingdom are cracking, and no amount of money, no amount of influence, no amount of carefully crafted narratives can hold it together. You were never meant to follow. You were never meant to wait your turn. You were sent to lead, to disrupt, to bring forth something that cannot be ignored. You are not simply moving forward. You are making way. What was once a distant possibility is now an unstoppable certainty. The shift is not coming. The shift is now. And no force on this earth can undo what has already begun. The structures they built were designed for endurance, fortified by routines and rigid control. Yet the very foundation is trembling. The walls they raised to secure their power are revealing fractures, no longer able to contain the inevitable shift. What was once an untouchable fortress is now vulnerable to the weight of undeniable change. There is no quiet corner where they can escape this truth. Your presence is a force of transformation, unraveling the carefully woven illusion they clung to for so long. Their authority, long dependent on submission and compliance, meets something it cannot suppress: authenticity that refuses to yield. The grip they held on the world is slipping, and no matter how they scramble to contain the rupture, the collapse is in motion. Change does not knock politely. It shatters the silence, rearranges the pieces, and leaves no room for outdated orders to survive. The impact of your movement stretches beyond their closed-door dealings, rippling through industries, governance, and entire frameworks of thought. It is not just a shift, it is a complete recalibration of what is possible. Those who once dictated the rules are now scrambling to adjust, no longer in control of the game they thought they owned. There is no safety in their past strategies, no certainty in the hierarchies they once protected. The world is no longer waiting for permission to evolve. It is being propelled into something entirely new, and those who refuse to adapt will be swept aside. When the familiar order begins to unravel, those who benefited most from it will resist with everything they have. Their greatest weapon is fear. Anxiety planted in whispers, obstacles set in motion through unseen hands. They seek to distort, to deceive, to fabricate barriers where none should exist. But their attempts are not the signs of strength. They are the desperate maneuvers of those who see their influence slipping beyond reach. They are not strategizing from a position of power. They are grasping at the edges of a reality they can no longer bend to their will. They were prepared to outlast competition, to crush opposition, but they never planned for something they could not predict. They are not controlling the game anymore. They are simply reacting to the force that is breaking through. Beyond their guarded corridors, the weight of your influence is undeniable. The very individuals who once dismissed your presence now track your every step with careful precision. They are unsettled not by what you do, but by what you represent. Something beyond their control. Something that does not operate by their unspoken agreements. Conversations in private chambers are filled with attempts to decipher your next move, to position themselves before it is too late. Their concern is not admiration, it is survival. They understand that the dynamics of power shift toward those who stand unwavering, and they can no longer ignore the reality that you are unmoved by their traditions. What they fear most is not your ambition, but the nature of your ascent. They have built their influence on careful curation, on the management of perception, on the ability to dictate the worth of those who enter their sphere. Yet here you are, unshaped by their approvals, rising in ways they cannot replicate. No strings to pull, no levers to manipulate, just undeniable presence, unshaken by the forces that held others captive. They have spent lifetimes crafting illusions, and yet their careful deceptions cannot manufacture what you possess. No wealth can purchase it, no strategy can duplicate it, and no negotiation can take it from you. There is no fairness in the way this game is played, no honor in the tactics used to maintain control. Their gestures will be disguised as collaboration, their deals dressed in promises of mutual gain. But every offer holds an invisible chain. They do not seek to walk beside you. They seek to tether you, to bring you into their fold, not to uplift, but to redirect. Yet they fail to see the fundamental difference between you and those who came before. You are not bound by their limitations. You do not move within the constraints of their unwritten rules. The game is being rewritten, and you are not waiting for their permission to shape its course. Integrity is not a strategy. It is the foundation that holds everything in place when the world attempts to bend you. In a realm where power is often seized through deception and ruthless ambition, the rarest force is one that refuses to be swayed by greed or the fleeting rewards of self-interest. The difference is undeniable. While many mold themselves to fit a system built on compromise, there exists a force that remains unshaken, guided by principles that cannot be bought or negotiated. Every move is intentional. every step forward driven by something greater than mere ambition. Those who once dismissed this quiet strength are now drawn to it, not because they understand it, but because they recognize that it cannot be replicated or replaced. Challenges were never meant to break those who are destined to shape the future. They are merely a proving ground for the unrelenting. Every effort made to undermine this force has only refined it further, tempering the mind like steel in fire. Opposition is not an obstacle. It is the necessary resistance that sharpens resolve. The path ahead will not be smooth, nor will the world easily accept transformation. At every turn, there will be choices between the simple road and the right one, between fleeting ease and lasting purpose. But those who leave an undeniable mark on history are not swayed by the weight of pressure. They stand unyielding, turning adversity into the very thing that fuels them forward. No one builds an empire alone, and no movement flourishes without those who carry its fire. The impact of any vision is only as strong as the individuals entrusted to guard it. The right allies do not merely assist, they multiply momentum, ensuring that what is being created extends beyond the reach of any single individual. In a world where influence is currency and deception is common, discernment is survival. The wrong voices can steer even the most unshakable off course, while the right ones fortify a movement that cannot be stopped. There is no space for half-hearted commitments or misplaced loyalty. The mission is too great, and the cost of misalignment is too high. Not every battle is meant to be fought, and not every call is meant to be answered. Influence does not belong to those who chase every fleeting opportunity, but to those who understand the power of precision. There will always be demands, distractions disguised as urgency, and voices seeking to dictate the direction of power. Yet true strength lies in the ability to move with strategy, knowing that silence can be more commanding than speech and stillness more disruptive than action. Control is never seized by those who react to every ripple in the water. It belongs to those who dictate the waves themselves. Material wealth is a tool, nothing more. It is neither the measure of success nor the essence of power. Those who mistake accumulation for legacy will one day realize that money is only as valuable as the impact it funds. Purpose cannot be purchased, and true influence is not built upon financial figures. The world does not remember those who simply acquired. It remembers those who shifted the course of existence itself, those who reach beyond numbers and into something deeper, something that lingers long after they are gone, are the ones who reshape reality itself. Now is the time to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. You can contribute to His plan and be a part of this divine mission with a donation of $100 or more. Every gift reflects God's generosity, and I believe it will return to you exponentially, far beyond your expectations. Remember, His protection and blessing is on your every step and every donation. You become part of His divine plan. You are a strong, radiant being, unshakable as His mighty rock. Witness God's miracles, feel the fruits of your generosity in your soul, and illuminate the world with confidence and courage. Be blessed, and let the light of the Lord guide your path. What has been built so far is not the peak, only the foundation. The signs are evident. Doors are swinging open, paths are revealing themselves, and the future that once seemed distant is now within reach. But growth is not about simple expansion. It demands foresight, adaptability, and the courage to move beyond the familiar. The path forward requires evolution, and remaining stagnant is no longer an option. Legacy is not secured by standing still. It is written in bold, fearless steps that reshape the landscape for those who will follow. Victory is not a moment. It is an undeniable force that unfolds over time. No matter the resistance, no matter the opposition, the outcome is inevitable. Those who were meant to stand will stand, and those who attempt to block the path will find themselves swept away by the current of something far greater than themselves. The world may doubt, forces may conspire, and challenges may rise, but nothing built upon truth can ever be undone. Those who carry a purpose beyond themselves cannot be outlasted, outworked, or undone. The game is no longer about winning, it is about rewriting the rules entirely,